We are back in the Red Eye Garage, part 2 of the rusty floor in the FC. You have to excuse my voice. I'm fighting off allergies or something. I don't know. I put on an old sweatshirt and I've been sneezing like 1,000 times, so I'm a little worked up here, but that's okay. So last video we made that inner rocker and tacked it in place, and I've been progressing a little bit, but let me show you where we're at. The inner rocker is in place, and then I tacked in the lower part of the wheel arch. Just wanted you to see it before I clean it up or anything. I see a lot of videos, and they're posted when everything's been like flap disked to death, and it's all shiny and smooth and perfect, and this is not. This is just quick tack welds. You can see these popping through. These are those the holes I drilled to make my fake spot weld. So you can see what they look like from the other side. They look like a pretty believable spot weld. Good enough for the women we hang out with. That's what Grandpa always used to say. Don't mind this. We're not going to look at these holes. Typically, I don't weld the entire thing. I see some people that will put like a bazillion spot welds here, and if that's how you want to do it, that's fine. I really tried to get my fitment good, so I'm not recreating these grooves, but I tried to get it nice and tight so they don't get a lot of water in there. So that's it. I'm not welding this any more than that. If it falls off with that many welds on it, it's fine. So I'll sand those basically smooth, and then I use a little coating of urethane seam sealer and then paint. That's it. I'll show you the other side. Alright, here's top side. So down there's those 3 welds on that flange, and the other ones were the holes that I drilled the old spot welds out with, and then I just flap disked those. And on this side I just welded every few inches, and once you get a couple welds, you know, the ball side of your hammer works really good to tap and close everything up. And then I like to back my, blows up with this thing. If you put this behind there and then tap it with the ball peen hammer, you're gonna close that gap up nicely. So this doesn't look very good now, and it's never gonna be beautiful, but so I'll go through and I'll smooth these welds out and just kind of tap everything closed as best as I can, and then I'll do the urethane seam sealer in here, but the floor is going to butt up to it right here too, so you're really not going to see it. And I also made a little panel here to fill in. I don't know why, just specifically rusted out right here. And then just full disclosure on how real we are here. My panel, I don't know why, it came up 2 inches short, so I had to patch in a little piece there. So I'm going to get this all smoothed out, and then hammer and dolly and whatever, get it all prepped and ready, and then I'll make a template for this main piece. And remember, it's going to be kind of a U shape, because I'm going to retain that original access panel that clips in here. So it's really not a whole lot of metal. Right now I'm just making a rough sized piece to make my template. I always make it a little bigger so that I can put little flanges on it to weld to, but I have a kind of confined space, so I measured out just roughly 15 by 20 will give me enough room to get it down and in on the floor, but still big enough to get the pieces I need. In the past I've always used cardboard because it was just what was laying around, like the pizza box, CAD, cardboard aided design. But I recently found this stuff at Dollar General, and this is so much nicer to work with. One second, I'll show you what it's just poster board. It's like glossy on one side, matte on the other, and this is $1. But what I like about it is that it's real flexible. It's super easy to cut with a knife or scissors. but it's still heavy enough that, you know, a piece of like computer paper bends and changes shape, and then your dimensions get all messed up too easily. So this stuff from Dollar General comes in black or white, I think, for $1. It's worth it. Okay, let's cut this out and make something. You probably think this is silly, but I actually will put my paper templates right in the break. It helps make a nice crisp flange. You definitely don't have to do that last step, but it just gives you a nice crisp edge. And the more accurate you make your template, the better it's going to fit. So I got 2 flanges ready to roll. That gives me my corner, and now we can work out from there. Another little trick I like to do when you can't reach up from underneath to make a mark for a perimeter, what you do, take your hand, get it nice and dirty, like I know your shop is dirty like mine, and rub the paper, and you're gonna get a line where the edge is. The harder you push, the more distinct that line will be. The template is pretty much done. Fits pretty good. This piece, I'm gonna have to hit it out this way. The template's square, but the Jeep isn't. So, and this piece is gonna need pushed out. So there will be some fiddling, and then I'm gonna bend, or I have like a crimper that puts a little step in the metal, and that's gonna tuck under the original floor. So right now the template's just laying on top. So the template's easy to work with. Once you get the sheet metal, it's a little bit more tricky, but I think I'm pretty happy with how that fits. So there is a bend right here. It's kind of hard to see. So the template, that'll be the first, one of the first bends I got to do, and then we'll use the brake and put the flanges on the sides. Won't be able to get all of them with the machine, so that's when the hand forming comes. So that's where there's a trade-off between, you know, a lot of people think, I've seen Jeeps with like 1/8-inch steel floors and diamond plate and stuff like that, and you don't need that. You have to find a balance between rigidity and strength versus, you know, you start losing performance to weight and also just workability. So even 18 gauge is, it's not too bad, but if you have to do little tight stuff, or you're doing it by hand because you don't have the right tools like me most of the time, 18 gauge is pretty tough, but doable. You get down into 16 and 14, that's what I made my tailgate 16 gauge. The Super Duty bed, I made the whole thing out of 14 gauge. That's heavy steel. So just keep that in mind when you're shopping. You can use 20 gauge, it's fine. It's just going to be a little more tinny and floppy, but 18 seems to be the sweet spot for most of this simple stuff. The more time you spend making your panel fit properly, the less time it's actually going to take you in the end, because you're not going to have to do it twice, and you're not going to have to try and fill 1/2-inch gaps with your welder, stuff like that. So right now I'm using this tool. I got this at like a hot rod shop when I was a teenager. It's a pair of vice grips that has a little flange die welded onto the jaws. It's slow, and it really will improve your forearm strength, but you just keep adjusting it tighter and going over your piece over and over, and what it does is puts a little, I don't know if you can see that, it puts a little flange on it. So this will, you can put another piece of sheet metal up here, do your spot welds, and then you don't have a big hump. So hopefully you can see that. And you get pretty quick at it. If you adjust it right, it springs back open. But it's a better joint than a butt weld, in my opinion. I think there's like a tool that does this, but I paid like $17 for these 25 years ago. 25, maybe 20 years ago. Anyway, panel's almost done. I got the flanges made, got the main bend done. And now just working on this edge, tuck it in, and I'll show you how it looks once it's in place. All right, it's 1:30 in the morning, and the passenger floor pan is finally done. I hope it fits. It doesn't look like much, but there's a lot going on here. So let's, I guess there's nothing left to do really, but put it in. Hopefully it fits. It's about 2 in the morning. It's in, it fits. Like we're calling it quits. That rhymes. I'm tired, but it's in there. I am back. I stayed up way too late last night. If you watched the last video, I was prepping this floor pan. It is ready to go in, and I just wanted to show you a couple of things that I do as I'm getting ready. So I told you about, how I drill these flanges to make kind of fake spot welds. So what you want to do is put your panel in place and look at where you can get your head and the welding torch, because if you can't get to it to weld it, you're not going to do a very good job. So that will dictate which side of the flange you drill your holes on. So like up here in these little flanges, I can sort of get to them from this side on the back, but I definitely can't from this side. So that means my holes are on this panel. Now obviously where the frame rail is, I can't get in there to weld that, but I can get one there, and then I'll probably put a tack here and there. This cab would have been welded off the frame, and that would be easy to get. This one, I can easily get to that. On the right side, I crimped this flange, so the welds will just be on top, so that's super easy. And on the driver's side, or the left side, I have lots of room in front of the radiator to weld this way, and no room because of the frame. So I did not drill this flange. I can clamp that and weld it along there. And then along the wheel arch, it's way easier to do it from this side in here. So I drilled my holes through that and did not drill that. So the hardest part I think here is going to be clamping this. So I'm going to bend this flange out so it's kind of springing into the wheel arch a little more, because I'm not, I have a deep throat clamp here that I can probably get to this one. And then, as you know, once you get a weld or two in it, then you can use the hammer and it won't spring as much. So, right in here I might have a little trouble, but then I can reach this as well. So that's the plan, at least. I'm going to prime the underside of this and either use weld through primer or, avoid painting the surfaces you want to weld. In here I'm not really going to paint much because I'll probably shoot some on that, but I can get to that. And then the inside of that, I still have to replace this outer rocker. So really the only thing it's just going to be a little easier if I spray a little primer on this piece. So let me let the paint dry, clamp that in place, and weld it. I'm ready to be done with this panel and move on. I will have to make a little, the access lid, but I can even do that later. That's easy. So let's roll. The passenger floor is done. So it's primed anyway. I just had some brush on primer, but I still need to get the seam sealer and stuff. But there it is. I made a little access panel. I really don't know why these are in here. You can get to the bumper bolts easier, but other than that, it's really nothing there. On the driver's side, it kind of makes sense because the steering column comes up through there. But Anyway, I used heavier steel. This is, I don't know, it's probably 14 gauge. It was really beefy. That'll kind of stiffen it up, and then the U-shaped opening has a ridge on it, so that kind of acts like a bead. So, and it's small. This bend helps too. So it's pretty stable, but it's nice to see some healthy metal in there. So I just got to seam seal it. I'll do both sides, and then once it's all done, I'm going to clean this up and just paint everything black on the floor and probably repaint the doghouse. I think I might do that to match the dash and do black around there. But that's the passenger side. Here's the view from underneath. Just feels good to see some solid metal back in here. So this side's coming along good. So now we'll move to the outside. So I just have this cab corner and this piece, but now I have the shapes, so I have something to build off. Because I was going to do this first, but then I wouldn't have had this profile and this, so I'm just kind of learning as I go, but I think this will give me a good, and that's where the seam would be. So these, I'm going to have to make it by hand. I do have a cab corner piece that I'll show you soon, and then the back too. But remember what I said, don't look too far ahead. Excuse me, we're just focusing right here for now. Sneak peek for a future video, I'm going to do a product review. I haven't done one in a while. I'm going to be showing you the Best Arc BTC 500 DP. It's a Pilot Arc plasma cutter, 110 and 220. I've seen these on Amazon. They have really good reviews. They reached out to me, and I thought, why not? So I have a Prime Weld 50D Cut 50D plasma cutter down here, and I just don't use it that much. I'm not in love with it. I did a review on it a while ago, and I bought this one. They didn't send it to me. And it works, but I don't ever use it. I find I just end up getting out the old cutoff wheel and doing it by hand. So I'm interested to see if the new one works better. The machine itself works fine. I don't like the torch and the tips. The consumables, they don't last. And so I'm like, I'll just do it myself. So maybe we'll use the Best Arc to do some cutting on the floor on the driver's side. It might be a good use for it. And then they're also, I think, going to send me a MIG welder, and we're going to put that up against the Eastwood MIG 180, which has been fantastic. So big shoes to fill. So that's going to be in a future video as well. So that's it for this video. I'm not sure if I'm going to start on this outer cab corner. I might go to the driver's side because I'm in floor mode now, and that's what I need. That's the structural stuff. I'm not worried about the cosmetics. I don't want this thing to be down, so I want to be able to drive it. So I'm just doing one area at a time. So stay tuned for the next video, whether it's just an update on the driver's side. I don't know yet. But thanks for watching and commenting and following along. I really appreciate it. And we'll catch you later.